Welcome to another episode, everyone. There is no way that you or anyone could survive the Bangkok Hilton prison. No one survives this prison. Check it out.
I thought you had to die to go to hell, but hell is right here.
Hell is right here. I thought you had to die to go to hell, he said. But hell is right here. In this Bangkok, ironically named Hilton prison. Bangkok Hilton prison. Some of these prisons around the world are treacherous, unsurvivable. You can't survive them. No one can. We think we have it here. We have it bad here in the States, and we do. Inside of these prisons, for those who may not know, I've done over 30 years of incarceration, but a lot of these prisons around the world are unfathomable.
Is Bangkok Central Prison, also called Bangkok Hilton, the place where only the longest sentence servers go. The women's version is no picnic either. There's already too much fuss on international forums about how ruthless Thai prisons are because of the constant overcrowding, disease, lack of clean food and water, immense heat, occasional violence and death, and other challenges. But the worst of them all is this one. So if you're an inmate here,
let's not just gloss over all that. Immense heat, occasional violence, occasional death, not enough food portions, etc. And overcrowding. You can see how many people is there already.
You're here for a long time, usually 20 to 50 years. In this video, we're showing you why there's no chance that you can survive the Bangkok Hilton prison. Let's start with the fact that it's a maximum security prison. It was made by King Rama VII in 1931 for detaining dangerous, long-term, and death row inmates. And currently, it is the only establishment in Thailand responsible for the execution of the death penalty by lethal injection. Bangkok Central Prison holds death penalty inmates in the death row unit, and almost all the prisoners spend much of their time in prison in leg shackles, even when they are behind bars. However, in 2013, the Department of Corrections launched a pilot project to remove the leg shackles from about 560 death row and life sentence inmates to improve its record on prisoner rights. There was a whole ceremony presided over by Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra on May 12, 2013 to unchain the inmates. Coming to its structure, it is approximately...
And we've seen this in other stories like this that I have covered here on the Inside Story with me, Damian Porter. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. And we've seen individuals so-called inmates. I prefer to refer to them as incarcerated people or whatever, but inmates, convicts, what have you. They're in shackles inside of their cells. You're already not going anywhere. The cells are secure, shut. You can't get out of them. And yet they have these individuals in shackles. Some of them, of course, were sleeping in these shackles, eating in these shackles, leg shackles, ankle shackles. Their ankles are swelling up to the point where their feet had to be amputated. This is many individuals where their feet had to be amputated because the shackles were swelling their extremities. And I'm assuming that the same thing happened here in Bangkok Hilton with these individuals having these shackles on inside of their cells. You sitting there in your cell reading a book or whatever, and you have to have these shackles on. I mean, talk about torture. So I'm sure she did have a whole ceremony when they decided to release the shackles out of certain inmates, 500 and some inmates, but it's 6,000 inmates here.
79 acres and divided into two zones. The area inside the prison walls is about 39 acres, and the space outside is nearly 40 acres. The prison has 2 layers of walls and about 21 watchtowers. Each inmate is surrounded by 6-meter-long external walls, and these walls extend 1 meter below ground and are equipped with high-voltage electricity. The second layer of the walls is of the same height and is surrounded by barbed wire fences. At the center of the prison is the standalone guard tower, which gives the guard a complete surrounding view of the prison. Inside the facility are 14 prison units separated by internal prison walls and small gates. Each unit is made up of a 2-story dormitory building in each unit. looking at the administration, we see 307 officers working at Bangkok Central Prison, according to the latest report from June 2014. The prison's majority population is convicted prisoners who are serving a minimum of 15 years, and the rest are remanded prisoners whose appeals are pending. Other than that, there are 6,000 inmates as of 2018. Let's not forget that capital punishment in Thailand is still legal. In this prison, all the executions take place at prison unit number 11, also called the execution unit. As a gruesome touch, there's a painted sign stating that the place for freeing from suffering. In the early days, the execution was beheading by the sword, but that changed to the firing squad. By reports, there are 319 inmates who have been executed by...
Wow. So these individuals, are barbaric. They carried out the executions, individuals who were sentenced to death by beheading them. How gruesome. My goodness. I don't believe that I'm against the death penalty. I don't believe that anyone should have the power, any human being should have the power to make that decision, including the individuals who are on death row, who are on there for taking a life. They were wrong as well. But you are no different if you carry out the same thing. Nevertheless, and then 319 after the beheadings, after they did that as a way of executing these condemned human beings, they turned to the firing squad. As we can see right here, this individual, this is crazy. Looks like they're about to fire somebody down right now. Right there in that picture. That's an old picture. They say they killed 319 individuals via the firing squad. 319 people. With this big old thing he has right here. So somebody just has to stand in front of that, and then you light them up, Swiss cheese them. You Swiss cheese his body with this thing. Oh my goodness. What kind of justice is this? Good thing they turned. I guess it's better than cutting your whole thing off. They was cutting your head. Man, better stay out of bank.
The firing squad, 316 men and 3 women offenders. Then they moved from firing squad to lethal injection, and they've done 6 executions as of 2009. You can expect prisoners to go insane here, which is why there have been previous attempts of escape and riots. In Bangkok Central Prison's history, there have been 4 notable attempts in 1932, 1961, 1988, and 1998, and also 2 major riots in 1974 and 1985. Both riots took place for the same reason, protesting the royal pardon. In 1974, the prisoners rioted for 7 days against the government's negligence in not submitting to His Majesty the King the recommendation for granting the royal pardon. In the riot of 1985, there were 7 deaths among prisoners and many casualties. According to the Department of Corrections report, the inmates even destroyed parts of the prison and set the workshop building on fire. The most fascinating aspect of the prison lifestyle was its...
That's the problem with most of this stuff. Most of these riots and attempts to gain your human rights inside of these prisons, it's unstructured, it's unorganized, these attacks. They had the riot there in 1974, then another riot in 1985, as he just alluded to, but nevertheless, the riot in 1985 rendered 6 deaths. Nevertheless, all of them were inmates. Well, good luck. What did you prove? How are they going to submit to your demands if the only people who are dying are you? All 60 and many casualties. I don't know what that means. I thought casualty was a death, but many casualties. I'm assuming many individuals who were thus hurt inside of the riot. And I'm sure all of them were inmates as well. At least the vast majority of them, because if something notable had happened to an officer, he would have espoused upon that, I'm supposing. So this is a riot that killed 6 individuals who were protesting. Well, no. In order for the people to understand and to listen and to make the changes that you are demanding, they have to feel the pressure.
Internal class system, also called the chit system. According to this system, prisoners get their food according to their standing in the cantina, where only a bowl of rice and vegetable food was given freely. So, if you want anything other than the usual, you have to buy it. That allowed wealthier prisoners to employ cohorts and servants out of prisoners, who worked for them in exchange for more food. Of course, many foreign forced prisoners experienced this and established their own charity drives just to provide them with enough money for better food. Speaking of foreign prisoners, this prison houses many of them. They later shared stories about their challenges like cramped cells, no mattresses or toilet facilities, language barriers, and many other challenges. Let's now dive into some of these stories to get a closer and more personal look inside the Bangkok Hilton. I was shaking and sobbing. I was thinking, I want my mom. The worst was the beatings. Judith Payne was a dental nurse of age 21 who served time in the Bangkok Hilton for a crime she did not commit. The guy she was staying with had purchased drugs from a street vendor, and when the police came knocking down the door, she was arrested as well. That night, Payne spent her time fighting off prisoners in the holding cell who tried to steal her diamond earrings. The police allowed her to email her mother, Valerie. While doing so, she was, quote, shaking and sobbing, end quote. She shared that, quote, all I could think of was how worried she was going to be when she read it. But I still thought I'd get out in an hour or so, end quote. The next day, the two were taken to court, and the whole trial took place in the Thai language, so they didn't understand a thing. Judith was forced to strip in front of 30 other prisoners and was intimately searched and handed a brown prison sarong to wear. When she was sent back to the cell, she shared that, quote, 74 women in a narrow brick and iron-barred room stared at her. The stupefying heat, buzz of flies, and stench from the communal latrine almost made her faint, end quote. She had no briefing about how the routine worked and how to get food or water. She shared that, quote, in the morning, everyone raced to this trough and tried to throw a bit of water over themselves, but everyone was pushing and shoving, and you were lucky to get any, end quote. After 3 weeks of experiencing madness, the families had hired a lawyer, and the pair was released on bail of 5,000 pounds each. Freedom put me in a dilemma. My soul was still locked behind those bars. Finally, we have the story of the 26-year-old political scientist.
That's horrible. Put in a place like incarceration period, of course, for a crime that you did not commit, yes, would be traumatic. And many people don't survive that. They blank themselves being in prison for a crime that you did not commit. But you add to the fact that it's a prison like this, the so-called Bangkok Hilton, as we can see, is utterly horrific. She's lucky to have survived it. Go inside of a cell with 77 women who are all staring at you, as she said. It's a horrific stench. It smells, as you can probably imagine, with 77 women in there who can't get to water. Because she said in the morning time or whatever, everyone's running over one another, trying to get to the water, to get a few drops of water to throw in their face, whatever. This is their shower. This is their wash up, I guess. Probably got to drink the water then too, because they don't have access to water any other time, or they will be using it to bathe themselves. And she says that you're lucky if you get any. Of course, with 77 women and you making 78 or so, every woman for themselves. Not saying that 77 women would smell more than 77 human beings, period. Be 77 babies, 77 kids, 77 men stuck in some room like, some cell, overcrowded with no proper hygiene. I haven't seen a deodorant or a bar of soap anywhere in sight. Just trying to, throw some water on yourself if you're lucky, here and there. Yeah, this is insufferable. For the foreigners, I'm sure they are really experiencing hell, even though apparently they have a capitalistic system going inside of this prison because the world is capitalistic. And so if you have some sort of wealth, perhaps that will make your time a bit easier, or at least you can get better food. But the rest of the circumstances remain, nevertheless, unbearable. They can't speak the language of the people there, these foreigners. They're really having a hard time in there, promising to never head back that way.
Science graduate Prantip Mankong. She had staged a satirical play about a fictional kingdom with the Paliko theater coup, which the military government believed was insulting Thailand's monarchy, which is a very serious crime. She pled guilty and was sentenced to 2.5 years at Bangkok's Central Women's Correctional Institution. Speaking to the Christian Science Monitor, she revealed that she slept with 70 to 80 women, mostly drug offenders, on the linoleum floor of her cell. Her sleeping space was just over a foot wide, and for bedding, she had 3 sackcloths, one for a pillow, one for a blanket, and one to cover the floor. In the daytime, they ate a rushed breakfast of rice, vegetables, and some tough chicken, which she described as animal food.
So let me go back to that. That's the breakfast. Look at that. Oh my God, what is that? What is that? He said rice and chicken or something. I don't see any chicken. I don't see any rice. Looks like diarrhea, bro. That water is brown. I don't know what that yellow stuff is. And it's just a big, huge pot of this. So I guess all of the women and men, whatever, have to eat out of it. Got to be lucky if they get a little scoop of this. This is their breakfast, dinner, or whatever. Think about that next time you want to pick up that weapon. Next time you want to sell illicit narcotics. Next time you want to lose control over some perceived slight. Just remember that the strength is in walking away, not in reacting or responding. That's weakness. And you end up living like this, and it's just not worth it.
Chicken, which she described as animal food. After that, they worked in sewing factories, earning as little as 8 baht a day. They were punished if they didn't meet their production quotas. She secretly journaled this entire experience by stealing and writing on pages of Genesis that she tore from a Bible. She found ways to smuggle them out, and later used the experience as research, which fueled her book about Thai prisons called All They Could Do to Us: Courage in Dark Times from a Fighter, Not a Victim. After her release, she became a freedom fighter for the many women inmates that still rot in Thailand prisons. She shared, quote, "Freedom put me in a dilemma. I wanted to go back. My soul was still locked behind those bars. The psychiatrist I consulted suggested I search for my family members, my fellow inmates," end quote. Bang Kwang Central Prison is still operating and working to bring down Thailand's biggest drug traffickers. Despite international unrest and local protests, the ruthlessness of the prison continues to affect its prisoners. Granted, they got rid of the shackles, but they've still got a long way to go to cross the line from surviving in this prison to serving in this prison.
Wow, so they did get rid of the shackles, apparently, all of the shackles. Bless them for that, because that is unimaginable. Wearing those shackles 24 hours a day. Just imagine that. Yes, I know that they committed crimes. Yes, I know that some of them, you may say, deserve it, depending on the crime. It looks like a lot of them are just traffickers. You know, not killers or serial killers or having dealings with children, children in some way, chomos or whatever. Not that trafficking is good because drugs kill people. But my goodness, that prison seems pretty harsh to be living like that for individuals who are apparently non-violent, at least some of them, many of them. I can see like ADX Florence for that holds terrorists and stuff like this. These are very violent individuals who have a lot of power, and if they can communicate with the streets or whatever, they can get out of there or what have you. So it's very secure. But my goodness, I mean, the shackles are the worst. I just can't imagine sitting there with those shackles on your feet, on your ankles all day. When you go to walk around in your cell, how can you work out? How can you do any of this sort of stuff? Your ankles constantly hurting. The shackles, they were old, rusty, dirty shackles. I'm sure they got them on tight enough, too tight. They want to make sure they're not loose. They want to make sure you can't come out of them. So they have them on tight enough. Everyone's ankles swelling up, scarred up from the cuffs, shackles pinching into your ankle, pinching into you. To the point, like as I said, I know some of them had to have their feet amputated. In other prisons who carried out the same practices, it couldn't have been any different here. It's the same thing. Horrible. Again, think about this before you commit a crime. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hopefully those people can get free and stay free. That's not good. Stay safe and stay free, people.